Have you ever felt like your partner was hiding something from the world and maybe even from you? I've been wrestling with this gnawing doubt that my relationship isn't as public as I thought it would be. My partner won't post about us on social media, and it's left me questioning everything. While it might sound trivial to some, this situation has slowly begun to unravel the trust and security I once felt. I'm a 29-year-old woman, and I've been in a committed relationship with my partner, Alex, for the past 2 years. We met through mutual friends, and from the very beginning, things just clicked. Alex, who is 31, works in tech, while I'm a freelance graphic designer. Our relationship has always felt solid, filled with laughter, shared goals, and mutual support. However, over the past few months, something began to gnaw at me. It started when I noticed that while I frequently shared snapshots of our life together on my Instagram, our weekend getaways, cozy nights in, and even the silly little moments that meant the world to me, Alex's social media presence was surprisingly devoid of any trace of me or our relationship. At first, I brushed it off, telling myself that Alex just wasn't the social media type. But as time went on, the absence felt more deliberate. I started to notice little things, like how Alex would post about their work, friends, and even their cat, but never a mention or photo of us. It was like our relationship existed in a bubble, separate from the digital world where Alex seemed so open and engaged otherwise. Initially, I tried to dismiss my feelings as irrational. Social media isn't the be-all and end-all of relationships, right? Yet, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't just about social media. It was about feeling acknowledged and valued. The insecurity crept in, making me question my worth and our relationship's place in Alex's life. This silent struggle has left me in a state of emotional limbo, unsure of how to address something that feels both trivial and monumental at the same time. As weeks turned into months, my unease about our social media invisibility grew. I found myself checking Alex's profiles more frequently, hoping for even a small acknowledgement of our relationship. But each scroll left me feeling more invisible. The breaking point came unexpectedly during a recent family gathering. We were at my cousin's birthday party, and everyone was having a great time. My family adores Alex, and it was one of those days where everything felt perfect. That is until Alex casually mentioned an upcoming work trip they hadn't told me about. It wasn't the trip itself that bothered me, it was the fact that I learned about it in front of everyone else. It felt like a slap in the face, a public reminder of the private doubts I'd been wrestling with. Later, when I asked Alex about it, they shrugged it off, saying it must have slipped their mind. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened, but it was the first time I couldn't just let it go. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being kept at arm's length, not just online, but in real life too. The unexpected conflict at the party brought my insecurities to the forefront, and I couldn't ignore them any longer. Emotionally, I was a mess. Fear and confusion clouded my thoughts. I feared that our relationship wasn't as strong as I believed, that I was the only one who considered it serious. Stress gnawed at me, keeping me awake at night as I replayed every moment, looking for signs I'd missed. Frustration bubbled up, not just at Alex, but at myself for letting something as trivial as social media become such a monumental issue. In an attempt to find some clarity, I turned to my best friend for advice. Over coffee, I poured out my heart, hoping for reassurance. Instead, she surprised me with a perspective I hadn't considered. Maybe Alex's reluctance to post was less about me and more about them. A fear of vulnerability or judgment from peers. This added layer of complexity only made things harder. If that were true, how could I address the issue without making Alex feel attacked or defensive? The situation had escalated from a silent worry to a full-blown emotional crisis, and I was at a loss for how to navigate it. Each day felt like walking on eggshells, unsure of when or how to bring up my feelings. The tension in our relationship was palpable, and I knew I needed to address it soon, but the fear of what I might discover held me back. I was caught in a vicious cycle of doubt and hope, desperately seeking a resolution but terrified of the potential fallout. Determined to confront the issue head-on, I decided that a heart-to-heart conversation with Alex was necessary. I knew this wouldn't be easy. Communication had never been our strong suit when it came to sensitive topics. Nonetheless, I gathered my thoughts, rehearsed what I wanted to say, and picked an evening when we were both relaxed and unhurried. Sitting across from Alex at our kitchen table, I opened up about my feelings. I expressed how the lack of social media presence made me feel invisible and questioned the seriousness of our relationship. To my relief, Alex listened intently, nodding along and acknowledging my feelings. They explained that their reluctance to post wasn't about hiding me, but rather a discomfort with sharing personal aspects of their life online. It was more about preserving privacy than a lack of affection. While this conversation brought some relief, it didn't fully address the root of my insecurity. I suggested a compromise. Maybe we could agree on sharing a few special moments online, just as a gesture of acknowledgement. Alex agreed, but I could sense hesitation. I thought that we had reached a middle ground, but there was still an unspoken tension. Just as things seemed to settle, life threw another curveball our way. Out of the blue, Alex received a job offer in a different city. The opportunity was too good to pass up, and while I wanted to be supportive, the news hit me hard. The thought of long distance was daunting, and it felt like the social media issue paled in comparison to the possibility of physical distance. This unexpected development overshadowed our previous concerns, amplifying my anxiety. While we discussed the logistics of potentially moving, the underlying issue of feeling disconnected remained unresolved. The job offer introduced a new layer of complexity, and despite my efforts to cope, I found myself grappling with the fear of losing the relationship altogether. Trying to cope, I turned to journaling, hoping to make sense of my emotions. I even considered seeking therapy to help me navigate the emotional turmoil. The obstacles felt insurmountable. Alex's career decision, my own professional commitments, and the unresolved issues that lingered between us. My attempts to resolve things seemed to lead to more questions than answers, and I was left wondering how much more our relationship could endure. As the days passed, the weight of the unresolved issues between Alex and me began to seep into every aspect of my life. Emotionally, I felt like I was on a roller coaster, unable to predict the next twist or turn. There were moments of hope, where I believed we could overcome these challenges together, but they were often overshadowed by waves of doubt and fear. Mentally, I was exhausted. The constant overthinking and second-guessing took a toll on my focus and productivity. My freelance work, which once brought me joy and a sense of accomplishment, now felt like a burden. Deadlines loomed like dark clouds, and my creativity was stifled by the emotional turmoil. Even my social interactions became strained. Friends noticed my distraction, the way I seemed present in body but not in spirit, and my usual enthusiasm for outings and gatherings dwindled. Socially, I began to isolate myself. I avoided friends and family, afraid of the questions that might arise. How are things with Alex was a question I dreaded. The facade of a happy relationship I had maintained for so long now felt fragile and dishonest. It was easier to retreat into myself than face the reality of our situation. Arguments with Alex became more frequent, often sparked by trivial matters but underpinned by the deeper, unspoken issues. Our once easygoing dynamic now felt tense and unpredictable, with unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. The sense of distance between us grew, both emotionally and physically, as Alex prepared for the possibility of moving. Internally, I was at war with myself. A part of me clung desperately to the relationship, remembering the good times and the love that had once seemed so unshakable. Yet another part questioned whether I was fighting a losing battle. The thought of a future without Alex was painful, yet the prospect of continuing on this uncertain path was equally daunting. The unresolved nature of our problems left me feeling hopeless at times, as if I were stuck in a loop with no clear way forward. My day-to-day life became a series of motions, lacking the joy and spontaneity it once held. The emotional impact was profound, and I knew that something had to change, but the fear of making the wrong decision kept me paralyzed. Each day was a struggle to find clarity amidst the chaos, and I longed for the peace of mind that seemed so elusive. As I sat alone one evening, staring at the blank pages of my journal, the realization dawned on me. All my efforts to bridge the growing chasm between Alex and me had led us to a standstill. The uncertainty surrounding Alex's potential move and our unresolved issues loomed larger than ever, and I found myself contemplating what I had hoped to avoid. drastic measures. Breaking up felt like an unthinkable option, yet the thought had been creeping into my mind more frequently. I questioned whether we were holding each other back from truly thriving. What if our paths were simply diverging, and this tension was our unwillingness to accept it? The idea of separation was terrifying, not just for the emotional upheaval it would cause, but for the fear of being alone after having shared my life so intimately with someone. I also considered the possibility of relocating with Alex. It would mean uprooting my life, my work, and my support system for the sake of our relationship. But would that solve the underlying problems, or merely delay the inevitable? The idea of making such a monumental change without any guarantee of resolving our core issues filled me with dread. The stigma of failing at a relationship weighed heavily on me. Friends and family had always viewed Alex and me as a strong couple, and the thought of admitting our struggles felt like admitting defeat. The fear of judgment, both external and internal, was paralyzing. In my heart, I was torn. Part of me longed to take decisive action, to rip off the Band-Aid and see what lay beneath. Yet the fear of the unknown kept me rooted in place. What would life look like without Alex? Would I be making a mistake I couldn't come back from? I was stuck in a limbo of indecision, my mind oscillating between action and inaction. The fear of potential consequences clashed with the desperate need for resolution. I knew that I couldn't linger in this state forever, but the path forward remained uncertain, leaving me suspended between hope and despair. Reflecting on this journey, I'm left standing at a crossroads, burdened by the weight of unresolved issues and the fear of the unknown. My relationship with Alex, once a source of joy and stability, now feels fraught with uncertainty and tension. The looming job offer, combined with the ongoing struggle over social media visibility, has compounded my feelings of insecurity and isolation. Despite my efforts to communicate and find compromise, I've reached an impasse. I'm caught between the fear of making a drastic decision and the desperate need for clarity and peace of mind. Each day feels like a delicate balance between hope and despair, and I'm no closer to finding a resolution. So I'm reaching out to this community for advice and support. Have any of you navigated similar challenges in your relationships? How did you find clarity when faced with such difficult choices? I'm hopeful that your insights might offer a fresh perspective or a path forward that I haven't yet considered. I understand that there might not be an easy solution, and perhaps I'm venting more than seeking answers. But in sharing my story, I hope to feel less alone and perhaps gain the courage to face whatever decision lies ahead. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I look forward to any guidance or shared experiences you might offer. I'm a 29-year-old woman feeling insecure as my partner, Alex, won't post about us on social media. Despite efforts to communicate, unresolved issues persist. Seeking advice on handling this uncertainty.